That sounds fun. That sounds fun.
Hi, friends. Welcome to another very special episode of the That Sounds Fun podcast. I'm your host, Annie F. Downs. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Happy Father's Day weekend to all the dads out there. Happy Father's Day to my dad, Mr. F. Downs, the best in the biz. Man, I'm excited for this conversation today. But before we dive in, I want to tell you about one of our incredible partners. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Even though we think summer is going to slow things down, we pack so much in sometimes that it's just as crazy as the rest of the year. Remember, it's important to take time to slow down and reset. The first day of the week can be a reset. The first day of a new month can be a reset. And there's always time to take inventory and make changes. What also helps me slow down, prioritize, and reset is counseling. Whether you're considering starting therapy or maybe looking for a change, let me tell you about BetterHelp. It's entirely online, super convenient, and flexible to your schedule. Plus, getting started is so easy. You just fill out a quick questionnaire. Y'all know we love a quiz. And you'll be matched with a licensed therapist. Plus, you can switch therapists anytime at no extra cost, so you can make sure to find the right match for you. So take a moment for yourself. Visit betterhelp.com/thatsoundsfun today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/thatsoundsfun. And today on the show, I get to talk with my friend, Willie Robertson. Y'all, I'm so excited for you to hear this one, especially as we head into Father's Day weekend. Although Willie might be best known as a member of the Duck Dynasty, he is most passionate about his role as a gospeler. Over the years, he has shared the good news of Jesus with others as he encourages us to do the same in his brand new book, Gospeler. We also talk about the book of Acts in this episode. So if you want to go back and listen to our Let's Read the Gospels series on Acts, we've linked that playlist in the show notes below. It was every day of the month of May. Here is my conversation with one of my favorite friends, one of my favorite dads, Willie Robertson.
That sounds fun.
Welcome to That Sounds Fun. I can't believe this is your first time.
Annie D, I'm in the house.
I know. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, gosh, of course. I'm so excited to talk about this book.
Now that I quasi live in Nashville,
I mean,
I've
you
been
are
here
here so much.
I don't know how it's been like. I'm here every month.
Yeah.
Everything is going through Nashville now.
Why do you think that is? What do you think that's about?
Well, I guess everybody's stationing up here.
Yeah.
Like I know a ton of my friends have moved here, and but yeah, just a lot of stuff that I do, I guess, is connected in some way. Because it's not all just like it's all kind of different things.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And it feels a little bit like there's this new permission. Correct me if I'm wrong. Really. You've been in my life long enough. You know I mean it. I feel like there's this new thing happening where people are going, hey, we're going to make the faith forward stuff we believe in making. Mm-hmm. And if this city doesn't want us to make it, or if this city won't help us make it, we'll go make it in Nashville.
Yeah.
We'll build a thing there, or we'll make it in West Monroe.
I would agree. Yeah,
There
it's
just
probably
feels like this permission to hey, come down here and we'll help you make the thing.
Yeah, because it's easier, when you're around the people that that are for that, and at least are not a hindrance. And Nashville's a great place. It's a different side of it. It's not the touristy. Like back in the day on the show, we would come a lot. We would do all we're downtown and doing a lot of stuff there. So I like the quiet version.
I like the arts that are we have people here making movies. We have people here obviously making music, but a lot more writers, a lot more. It just feels like, okay, God, I'm paying attention that you're making us an exporter in bigger ways than we've ever been as a city.
And it's so fun because I stay in Franklin, and I see someone every time, either meet someone, see someone on that. It's insane how many people come through here with different kind of projects. And so, it's fun. It's
really interesting. The thing I'm not going to do to our audience, but I would die to do, is I have so many business questions for you about as people who run businesses that make way for gospel work, but aren't so Duck Commander, a gospel bit, and you say this in the book in Gospeler that when you said to your dad, let's do this TV show, he said nobody's going to care, and then you said it'll help spread the gospel, and his eyes looked up.
That's the only way I got him to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so y'all have companies that don't do direct gospel work, but make way for gospel work.
Correct. Yeah. It's all and hopefully the book, that because I think people see me not as a pastor for sure, not as a church worker, just as a regular guy, runs a business, but how we mesh all that faith in there, it's just impossible to separate it.
Yeah, because so many of our friends listening, they're going to a job that isn't in a church. I go to a job that isn't in a church.
Yeah.
And so how do we show up at our business and things succeed and things fail? And we show up at our business, but what we want to be doing is more gospel work. How do we sit in our desk every day knowing what we're wanting to do is gospel work? How do we reconcile all that?
Well, I think you don't toss away hard work knowing that there's a job, you know, and I think sometimes we may not do that as well. And then we're like, well, you're not as good a worker. I think some people get weird with it, you know, so you become so strange that people are like, I can't really talk to that person, you know. And you can do that about anything. You can, you know, you could be weird about relationships or other things that you're into. And so, yeah, I think but if that is the number one thing in your life, if it's going to spill out, ooze out, be the aroma of Christ, then it's going to be hard to separate that. And so I think it should be, you know, I think believers should be attractive in that way. If you have the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, I mean, all these things are attractive, and people generally want to be around people that are spewing out that as opposed to, you know, the first list in Galatians 5, which is the acts of sinful nature. I mean, most people would say, yeah, I don't, you know, somebody who's selfish or has a fit of rage, you know, you don't want to hang out with those people. So,
do you know that I'm living part-time in New York this year?
Are you?
Yeah. I'm doing
Well, that sounds fun.
I know, right? It's a different life. It's a different life.
That sounds miserable.
There is. I'm enjoying it so far. It's just a totally different thing. There's a coffee shop. I really like it. I think it's fun. I like what it's stretching different muscles.
And I shouldn't judge. I haven't.
You don't have to.
I haven't lived in New York, but I do. I mean, I used to love going to New York. I haven't been. We've only been once since COVID.
It is really. There's a lot of things I like about it. And one of them is there is a coffee shop that is mainstream. I mean, it's just a coffee shop. Yeah. And I walked in the first time and I was like, hold on. There's something different. This is a Christian coffee shop. I mean, not, you know, in quotes. And so I'm kind of looking around and I sit down, I get my coffee. The guys behind the counter are real nice. And I'm like, I think there's some Jesus up in here. And then I start eavesdropping and the two people around me are having gospel conversations. And I was oh, now I know. Yeah. So either this is run by Christians or this is just frequented by Christians, but the spirit felt different.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, this is, and then I come to find out it's owned by guys from a church, and so it is. Well, so fun, I think it's really interesting when we think about businesses that everywhere you go, the aroma of Christ goes with you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've experienced that profoundly.
And that's all over the world. Yeah,
shop.
I mean, yeah. There's places that, you'll go and you'll be like, which back home in West Monroe, there's, overtly Christian. The grocery store is like plays worship music.
Yeah, that's right. That's why it stands out in New York, because you walk in and you're like, it's not dark in here. Somebody turn the lights on. I can see. What is this place? It's unreal.
Well, I mean, I like places like that because you have to really, this book's appropriate for that, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not like everybody's speaking the same language. And you've got to, you've got to have some conversations about it. And, it's not like everybody's, I think sometimes like back home, it just seems like everyone goes to church, even though that's not true. Yeah. But it's you're kind of applauded for that, and you expect that. So you go other places, you're like, oh, okay, this is different. This is, You're gonna have to have some fun conversations with
That's
people.
right. And every time I hear a gospel conversation at a coffee shop in New York, I'm looking at those men's ring fingers. I'm like, you married? You married? Because you up here and you talk about the Bible in public. I'm interested. They usually are.
You have a lot more people up there.
That's right. I got a bigger pool to fish from, but they're weirder. When I spoke in Alaska one time, they said the ratio is like 10 to 1, male to female, and they said the odds are good, but the goods are odd.
That's awesome.
So good.
That is amazing.
So tell me what you do. This may not have happened to y'all, but tell me what you do when you do have this gospel-centric life, but your work may not be gospel-centric and something fails. I've been walking through, what if this doesn't go the way I thought it would about part of our business? And part of what I wrestle with is, this is gospel money that's going to get lost in this. How do you deal with the failures of business as a gospel person?
Well, failures, I mean, that's part of it. That's part of the deal.
Yeah, it just feels terrible.
It does. But, like if one works, then it works. You think about TV, like our show was a hit, but think about how many are not hits,
Yeah.
But that's all part of it. Makes it funner when you know that you hit, when you know that you worked hard and something worked, but you never know. But that's all part of it. So yeah, you're just gonna. I think you just roll with it. I think you just say, hey, that's chalk up what we learned, and try not to put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
But it's just going to happen. Yeah. And that's not promised. I think sometimes people get that mixed up. It's
that like if we're doing,
God's behind me, then it's going to work.
I'm going to make a lot of money off of this because the Lord knows.
It's no, not necessarily. I've seen a lot of things not work out, and that's one of the things I loved about Dad, like in the business, was he was always. This is one of the things that was so remarkable, and this is something you wouldn't think. He was so content back before it was ever. Because I remember like when the show came out and people was like, Willie, how's it feel to be an overnight sensation? I said, well, we started the business about 40 years ago.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly
I don't know what your idea of overnight is,
right.
but like this seemed like it took a long time to take off.
Yeah.
But Phil was just so content. Man, he had everything he felt like he needed. It wasn't this just drive and push and we've got to be. It was like, hey, we've got food. We get to live the way we want. I mean, it was a lot different. There wasn't this big rat race. And so I appreciate that because it allowed the time for me to kind of get my head where it needed to be, where I was like, okay, now I can take over the business. And, like I'm glad he didn't sell it before, because he had an offer like in the 80s for like $1 million.
Wow.
And looking back, I was like, how did he not sell this thing?
Yeah.
And ironically enough, the company that was going to buy it went bankrupt the next year.
No way.
And he didn't sell it.
He didn't
I was
sell it.
Because I didn't come in till I was 30.
Yeah.
Because I never dreamed I would even work here. I was like, when I get out of here, I'm out of here. I'm never coming back.
Right.
I'd done this as a kid, and then Corey and I got married at 20, and then I went to college. I didn't plan on that either. Corey's dad thought it'd be a good idea. Got me a college education.
Yeah.
So we came back, and I actually worked for her family in the
at the camp.
At the camp.
Yeah, I read about
That's where I worked. Yeah, and so did that, and then worked for the church some, and just kind of was like, And then I was able to see Duck Commander kind of from afar. I was like, I think there's something here,
Wow.
And Corey's family was so smart at business, and I thought we could just take over, we could. So I went down and had a meeting. We ended up taking over the business at about 30, and then it was a whole new, I was like, all right, I got to learn.
Yeah.
And you were talking about failure. I had to make sure the deck was kind of stacked against me because they had this old debt, and they, and I guess through the show now you kind of see what I was trying to work with as far as my family. Great TV, not exactly great production work. And and so it just had to, I was like, if this thing fails, and we were all in, we were like, this will be bankrupt or bust, you know? And so, just kind of learned how to sell business and then also expand and make things bigger. And so, one of the big keys with that was networking and working with other companies, which Dad had never done. Dad was always just kind of this mysterious dude in the woods.
Yeah.
And even in our industry, nobody really knew him. They knew he preached, and they knew he had this beard, and he lived down the end of the river, and he was good at duck hunting. That's about all. And so I started making all these relationships, and then the big thing I did was I got people to sponsor us and give us money to use their products. And so, man, I was like the hero. I was like, they were like, they're going to pay us money to wear their clothes. And we get free clothes.
Right. And the clothes are free, so I don't have to
buy
buy
clothes.
Like
free shells and free guns. And I was like, they're like, this guy's brilliant, Dad was like, hey, keep it going, son. Keep it going. And I remember, I'll give Corey a shout out for this. So our first TV deal, was on the Outdoor Channel. It was a company called Benelli Shotguns. And so they were like, we'll pay for the production. You guys, your business should be helped and all this, and it'll be a good deal. And I said, okay. And so Corey says, well, I think they should pay y'all, money. I said, Corey, don't get greedy. Like, they're paying for production, you know. She goes, well, you don't know until you ask. She goes, can I ask in the meeting? I said, okay. You can ask, but if this gets weird in any way, abort the mission, back up. I don't want to lose this deal. So we're in the meeting, and the guy goes, okay, well, I think we'll start filming. And Corey said, oh, one more thing. And I'm like, oh, no. She goes, I think y'all should pay the guys, a talent fee. I'd never heard this word, talent fee. And he goes, oh. He said, what are you thinking? And she said, I was thinking $30,000 a piece. And I went, oh. I mean, I was making $20,000 at the time for my salary.
Wow.
And she said $30,000. And the guy goes, okay, yeah, no problem. And I went, dang it, we should have said 50. We should have said 50. Like, that was way too easy. So then here's me as a CEO. So Corey gets this deal. So we come home. I go into Dad's living room. We're all there. And I stood up and I said, guess what I just got us for this TV show? $30,000. And we literally, everybody just jumped up and down.
Yeah.
And we were just screaming, we did it. We made it. You know?
Yeah.
We all just doubled our salaries
Yeah.
to do a TV show. I had no idea what we were going to do.
Right.
But that was the beginning of what was going to be. Had we not done that TV show on Outdoor Channel, that's the producer that saw that, sent a generic email to Duck Commander, to whom it may concern. I've watched that show, and I think you'll have a giant show in your hands.
Oh, my
We met up.
gosh.
We made a sizzle reel, pitched it to A&E. A&E picks it up. Duck Dynasty was made.
I mean, and can you ever imagine back then, Tread Lively? I mean, now y'all are the ones, y'all are the producers sending emails and saying, hey, have y'all thought about,
Right, yeah.
y'all are getting sizzle reels from me.
Yeah.
From people going
Right.
like, hey, I mean, can you ever have imagined it had gone that?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't even think a show would, it was Corey's idea too to do reality TV. So, because she watched reality TV.
Yeah.
So none of us watched. I still
Yeah.
don't watch it. And she said, Willie, you and your family need to do a reality TV show. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. And I said, Corey, we're just normal people. And Corey said, Willie, y'all ain't normal. And I said, you don't think we're normal? She was like, no. She was like, I'm married in this family. Y'all are not normal. And she was like, your Uncle Si? And I was like, oh, okay, you got one there.
Man, watching the unsung hero guys come through and interview with Uncle Si, and I mean, the videos from that are hilarious.
Oh, he's just... And the first thing I wanted to do at Duck Commander, this was my first move as CEO. I'm looking at so we had like 4 workers, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the workers slept on the couch because we're still doing the business. We didn't have a warehouse. We were still in the living room of Mom and Dad's house.
Oh my gosh.
So one of
the
our
whole business was out of their house.
Oh yeah, we were still there when I took over.
Oh my gosh.
One of our workers slept on the couch for like 3 hours in the afternoon. Like while I'm on the phone. He's
Every
over
day,
there
just took a nap every day?
belching and farting,
No.
and I'm like, I was like, we can't. This is not a real business. I wish we could have started the show back then when we were all in the house.
Yeah.
And so I go to Dad and I said, Dad, look, I know your brother works for us. I think we need to cut. Like, we just probably need to let him go. And Phil would not let me fire him. He said, no, Si, keep Si around. He makes him reads. No one wants to do that job. And I was like, oh God, I gotta. And so I started in the production, like filming, because we were doing videos. And I said, don't film Si. Like, this is what I knew. And I was like, thank the Lord I didn't fire Si, because by the time Duck Dynasty happened, pure gold.
Yeah.
Pure gold. I was like, which taught me a lesson of business. Sometimes in your company, you have a diamond in the rough. You got him in the wrong spot, And once Si got in the right spot, it was just...
Yeah.
Because he was a machine. I mean,
Yeah.
he was the funnest guy to work with. Like when we would do the scenes, energy level 100%.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, Duck Dynasty started when Phil and Kay and Si were in their mid-60s. So talk about a new lease on life.
Yeah, no kidding.
Si was retired. He was like, I think Mom and Dad, all of them were like, we're done,
Yeah.
We're done in life. We've done our career. We're over.
Yeah.
And then they had this whole new thing happen. And then Si becomes like one of the most well-known people in America.
Right.
Like he was
And
in
he's
the
Uncle Si to everybody.
He's Uncle Si, yeah. And he's like, he was in the military. He was a career military guy.
Yeah.
He was a greenskeeper guy at a golf course. And then Phil hired him. So he drug up to West Monroe. And then bang, man, then he's just a whole new lease on life. So you just never know. I think sometimes we think like, my whole thing's over. And I'm like, you have no idea.
That's it.
What
right.
what God may have in store for you.
That's right.
That sounds fun.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation to tell you about one of our incredible partners, Thrive Cosmetics. Y'all already know I'm a fan. These eyelashes will tell you that. Thrive Cosmetics is my favorite. It is the makeup in the turquoise tubes that you see all over the internet and my face. You've heard me talk the most about their mascara because I truly love it. But Thrive Cosmetics has a full line of makeup for every day. Their whole line has clean, skin-loving ingredients with foolproof products that make it easy for any skill level to apply. And one of the incredible parts of Thrive Cosmetics is that for every product purchased, they donate products and funds to help communities thrive. I love that. Now, let's talk about their Infinity Waterproof Eyebrow Liner for a second. Y'all, it's a super easy to use waterproof pencil that holds like a wax, but it blends like a powder. Just who can believe? Y'all, you're going to love it. You just line your brows to give them a little structure. You can create these natural looking strokes of hair to fill in sparse brows. It comes with a spoolie brush to lift and tame brows after applying the pencil. There are 8 shades to choose from that adjust to your natural brow hair color for a perfect match every time. Thrive Cosmetics is certified 100% vegan and cruelty-free. They have thousands of 5-star reviews, so it's really no wonder you see their makeup trending everywhere. But have you given it a try? Refresh your everyday look with Thrive Cosmetics, luxury beauty that gives back. Right now, you can get an exclusive 10% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/TSF. That's THRIVE Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/TSF for 10% off your first order. And remember, we always link all these codes in the show notes below. So you don't have to memorize it. You can just look right there below and we will send you right to getting this makeup that you need. Okay, now back to our conversation with Willie.
That sounds fun.
One of the things I thought when I watched The Blind, which I hope our friends listening have already seen it, but if not, it is such a good movie.
Thank you.
I thought the humility of Phil to let y'all tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Huge.
Truly, I watched, in about the same week, I got my first viewing of The Blind and my first viewing of Unsung Hero, and I was like, these two 70-year-old men are sure letting their families tell a story about their decision-making. So will you talk about that humility? Is that grown in him, or is that how you've always known him to be?
I think so. Well, it's the same thing we talked about earlier. I think he may have been a little unsure, and the response was like, well, Phil, this may could help people obey the gospel.
Yes.
And Phil goes, well, if it helps bring some, if it helps save some, he gives us the thumbs up again and says, go ahead. Because, you think about Christianity, and I think even in life, even outside of Christianity, we're hopefully we've learned and over the time is like the past is behind you. You got to look forward, leave it behind. Unless they make a movie about it, and then it's going to live in perpetuity. Like
forever.
The worst season of your life is going to be played out. And it was hard for him. I think that, we were opening up stuff, that I'm sure even for mom and dad, just their marriage. And, that's hard to go back. And Phil was embarrassed even by watching it. In fact, we watched it once and we were doing another screening. And I said, hey, Dad, we're going to show the movie again. And Phil said, no, I'm good. He said, I've already seen it once. That's enough.
Yeah,
so, that was enough for him. But yeah, that had to be really difficult. And so I was proud that but again, it was all for the sake. It's not that they've always been open about their life and their past, but I think just watching it like that and, reliving all that stuff was just, it was hard. But
I mean, you do that.
But again, he did it
for
that.
And you tell hard parts of your story in the gospel too.
I did, because that's part of my, when I talk to someone about the gospel, oftentimes we'll get into their story. Yeah. I mean, and usually it involves some of that stuff, if you're going to talk about what you need to talk about. So that part of me sharing that, one was to say, well, wait a minute, I think I know him, what's he doing talking about the gospel, I remember back then, he said this or did this. And I think that's a big neutralizer. That's a bit that holds so many people back from what they can do in Christianity. Because they're like, no, I can't.
I'm disqualified. Yeah.
Right, I'm disqualified. I'm out.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, part of the book, part of me writing it was when I was teaching this class on sharing your faith, and I realized there were so many people that just disqualified themselves right out of the gate.
Wow.
One is that.
Yeah.
One is my past. One is I'm no person to tell anybody else anything. And there were others like, I don't know the Bible well enough, and it's not my gift, and it's, I'm shy. And so there was a lot of reasons. So I said, well, let's see if we can knock some of those out. But I think that in fact, in that chapter, I talk about Peter, and that's the thing with Peter that's always.
I wrote Peter in an exclamation point.
It's my.
I love
it's
what
my
you say about
favorite
him.
because that resonates so much. Because I think you may forget that when you read like Acts chapter 1, Peter's the one up even before Acts chapter 2. Acts chapter 1, Peter's up, trying to replace Judas.
Yeah.
So he's taking charge. And what was amazing, nobody questioned. Nobody said, "Hey, who made you the leader of this thing?"
That's right.
Because in my Bible, you turn about 2 pages backwards, and there he is denying even knowing Jesus.
That's right.
And so I thought, wow, he didn't take the 5-year plan and let me go hang out somewhere else. Even though I think when he went back to that boat, I think he was done. I think he was like, I'm just gonna. And Jesus did go have a pep talk with him, which was amazing because he was like, no, we have a job. We got a job to do. And so he was able to go, you know what? That's over. And then bang, he's up in Acts chapter 1. Acts chapter 2, obviously, who gets up? Peter gets up and then starts
Wouldn't
preaching.
even tell a girl by a fireplace that he knew Jesus and then
So it's
gets
amazing.
up and 3,000 people
It's such
get
a
saved.
lesson. It's such a lesson to me. It's like, I've done things that I'm certainly not proud of. And but it's, there's a story to tell. And part of that is part of your story. That's the beautiful nature, I think, of Christianity is that you're not out. You're not. It's not like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I try to tell these stories, like with marriage and other, where it's like, okay, we can see it there. Okay, I see that. Like.
I like how you talk. I mean, you say in the book that you often use marriage as the lead-in for these conversations, especially with married men you're talking to, because Jesus uses it so much.
Well, and remember Paul when he says the mystery of marriage. This is this relationship, two becoming one, and and so when you think about it like that, you're like, when somebody says, "Well, it's not my gift," and I say, "Well, okay, how about you tell your spouse that for the rest of your life you're never going to mention their name ever to anyone because it's not your gift."
Yeah.
You're not good.
Because you're a little shy.
Yeah. See how that goes.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of absurd. So it's like, that's so if when when I'm talking, I'm probably referenced Corey 4 or 5 times just talking here because when you have a relationship like that, it's gonna it just comes out because you're like, oh, we were just talking. So I feel like when you have that relationship with Jesus, it's the same way. It's gonna be really hard to just separate that and give people reasons why. And so I think that's a great. It's a great analogy. It's not the only one, but it's one that I use a lot because it just makes a lot of sense, of what that would be like. And then even in Christianity, just like in marriage, Corey and I have had bad times, bad days, bad weeks, maybe a bad month. But through it all, 32 years, we're still married, So this relationship is still here, can still improve, and it still grows, and it, and it can go backwards as well. It can get, and so.
I mean, I really respected when you wrote about that in the book and talked about, hey, we were in a bad season in the show, and I had to pull back, and I was listening to worship music, and I was
That's all I was doing.
and
because it was lonely because of being in the spotlight. Because even church was weird. It's just everybody. It's just it was so hard to It's just
to go from.
It was like there was nowhere to go. It's like where do I go where nobody's looking at me in any way, and a lot of that was probably in my own head, but still it was real.
It only has to happen once for you to think it can happen any other time.
It's still real, and so so you're really cautious about what you tell, who you talk to, because you realize it's like ooh, guess I just found out, You
remember what you asked me the first time we met?
Me?
You said, "How do you know my kids?" At Lee's house, we were at that barbecue for Sadie's kickoff. He said, "How do you know my kids?" And I said, "Oh, we met at this thing and this thing." He said, "Okay."
And
I was like,
no,
that's
I forgot
good.
that.
That's good. That's a dad whose kids are in public life and is saying like, "Hey, I know you're in public life to some degree too, but I want to know what your motive is here for being friends with my family."
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that.
I
I'm
can
sorry.
see why.
I'm sorry if I was rude.
You weren't.
No, okay.
I didn't take it at all that way. I thought that's a great question a dad should. I mean, also you're like, this 30-year-old single girl is broing out with my son and my new daughter-in-law. Like, I need some understanding. And it was great. I loved it.
That's hilarious.
But it did remind me that y'all have dealt with a public-facing life that has at some point gotten you in situations where you went, I don't always, it would be unwise to automatically trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And actually such a high level of like as quick as it was, but it was just like it was so it wasn't just a show.
No.
I know a lot of people with a TV show.
Yeah.
This was a show that,
That's right.
a lot of people watched. And,
the story
and you're so
about
recognizable, so
Yes.
it's really hard to hide. So it's like people see you and like, like I always got stared at before. Sometimes people are like, well, who is this guy? But then when you get famous, it's like, then they know,
Yeah.
Which it still happens, but it's not near like it was. But yeah, we had been through you couldn't go anywhere. But I understood.
Obama knowing who you are, my gosh.
Yeah, it helped me. It helped me with the book. It helps me deal with people who are famous for sure, because I know. I was like, oh, thank you. Now I know, because I used to study the Bible with people who were famous, and they'd be like, well, you don't know what this is like, which was true. And then it was awesome because I'd be like, oh, I kind of know a little bit what that's like now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets lonely.
Really
It's you kind of just you hide out, and it's a different way. And I'm not complaining.
No. I don't hear you complaining. It's just the reality of it.
People who complain, but it's just different, because people treat you differently. So you don't know if somebody's being nice to you because, is this just because of this or
Listen, dating, you can imagine.
No, yeah.
It takes about 3 days, and I go, oh, really, Annie's going to disappoint you because you really like Annie F. Downs.
Right.
And she's only got so much bandwidth. She
Yeah.
runs out. She's a product sometimes,
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, I get that. I think I listened to a podcast the other day, and the host was talking about this new Google type search where you can search people's faces. And she said, what that means is that now every time we're in public, there's a chance someone's listening to your conversation. And the other host says, I think that's what it's like for famous people all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't talk about anything in restaurants, assuming no one cares.
Right.
I'm sure you don't either, right? Like you don't go into a restaurant and just talk all willy-nilly because
Yeah.
there's a chance somebody cares sitting around you what you're saying.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting too is I will, like, someone may not be sure who I am, and then I'll start talking, and they'll be like, oh, I knew that was you when I heard your voice. I'm like, oh, man, that's going to be hard.
Dude.
It's hard to
During
change
COVID
my voice.
with the mask on,
Yeah.
people were like, Annie F. Downs. I was like, yeah, I know my voice goes before me. Yeah, it's interesting. And it's a gift because we also are gospeler people. And so talk about how you've seen a difference, because everybody listening to us has followers because they're on social media.
Right.
So what does it mean that we have any amount of followers, 10 to 10 million, and we're gospel people?
Well, it means you have at least a pool of people to try to help disciple. So here's the deal. The Great Commission, Matthew 28, make disciples, baptize people, teach people. I just wanted to be those three things. 'Cause I know a lot of people, they're not anywhere near those three things.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be around those three things, so the making the disciple part, if you're going to do any of those three things, you're going to have to open your mouth and help,
Yeah.
So it's hard to be quiet and
Yeah.
not. So I feel like with whether it's followers or non-followers or whatever, it's if I'm in that, sometimes it may be the teaching, sometimes it may be the disciple making, sometimes it's the baptizing people. But yeah, I'm just trying to, at my age now, and that was one of the things I wanted to do in my 50s, was really teach more. So this was one of the bucket list things to do, was actually to teach and pass that on. Because I'm feeling that more, especially just naturally, like with my son-in-laws, my daughter-in-laws, my grandkids now. And you're like, there's so much. I'm like, there's so much I wanted to tell you this. And there'll be a lot of other things, but with this book, this is what it was all about. I think I was just meant to write this and meant to share, at least put these stories down just so that at least we wouldn't forget. You know? So that's part of being a storyteller. It's why I told that. John chapter 4, Jesus at the woman at the well. Master class.
Right.
And in fact, this is for people who are like, I can't do that. The big question Jesus asked this woman, who shouldn't have been talking to, and they weren't from the same regions. The big question was, can I get her a drink of water?
Yeah.
That was the question. That's where it started. Now the story ends with the whole village coming to know Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's right.
It started with, can I get a drink of water? So if you can ask that question, then you can, and then he gets into her story, right? So he starts talking about spiritual things she doesn't understand, which is normal. I think sometimes we're shocked, like, can you believe they're doing that? I'm like, well, yeah, they're not Christians. They're not believers. They don't have a clue what you're talking about. He gets into her story. She gives him part of the story, which is understandable. She just met the guy. And then he's like, no. And why did he keep digging in? Because I think he knew, if you're not going to deal with this, you're never going to understand it unless you're going to deal with, because everybody knew, even in Nashville.
Right.
you let me go through 5 or 6 marriages, everybody's gonna know. You know what I'm saying?
Know.
Like
Yep.
everybody's gonna know. And so he wanted that dealt with. And then when she went back to the village, the coolest parts of the story to me is she said, y'all have got to go meet this guy. He told me everything I ever did. That should have been a negative.
Yes.
It was a positive.
Yes, that's right. Wow.
See the release? She's
Yeah.
like, see, I would be like, hey, watch out. Don't talk to that guy because he knows everything you did. I'd be
Yeah.
like, don't, you may want to avoid him. And that became a positive. And then they went out and did that. And then they all became believers. So she was actually one of the first gospelers there was early in the book of John.
Yeah.
This woman. So I thought it's a great way of how you talk to people and how you deal with people and have that conversation. And that was from Jesus himself.
Yeah. You talk about in the book, I felt so convicted in the sin seller chapter where you talk about never run from an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And it is that, can I have a glass of water? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a story about baptism. Do you want to retell? I mean, it's just a beautiful about Charlie where you're just like,
Oh, Charlie gets some towels.
I'll
yeah.
never get baptized. I've never been baptized. You said, Corey? Like you just
Go get
went
some
for
towels.
it. Yeah.
In my phone, Charlie gets some towels.
Yeah.
We were talking. It was because it was a Christian. He had come with a Christian speaker, and baptism is one of the things I use a lot because it's a great conversation starter, and we get right to the.
Yeah, because it kind of skips over. What do you think about Jesus? You ever been baptized?
We get right. Yeah, we get right to it, and so I think for a lot of
That's
people it's a
interesting.
scary subject, but I love it. It's just I love talking about it because we can get in their story right there, and you kind of know the context then.
Yes.
So I'll say,
That's
hey, have
really
you ever
smart.
been baptized? So if someone says no, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And so, do you have a relationship with Jesus? And the answer may be yes or no or whatever. But you see the wheels turning, and then it's like I just love it. Or they'll say, yeah, when I was 7, It's like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Is that when your relationship started? Yeah. And my next question is usually always the same. How's it been since then?
Yeah.
And then we start.
Yeah.
And then we start hearing that story.
Yeah.
And then we start that kind of down that road. I had a guy come to me the other day. I was in the airport in Atlanta. He goes, hey, I know who you are. I said, hey, what's up, buddy? And he goes, love you. I love what you do. And I was like, oh, thank you. And he goes, I mean, I ain't exactly living the way I should.
Wow.
And I said, why would you say that?
Yeah.
I said, why would you say that to me? And we're standing at the Sky Club.
Yeah.
He's looking at me, and I go, sit down. I want to know why you would tell me that.
Yeah.
And so he sits down. He's like, I don't mean to take your time. I said, no, I got nothing going on.
That's right.
And then we got in 30-minute story right there.
Wow.
And we started talking about he was hurt by the church, And so that's the thing. That's why these conversations, this is not science.
Yeah.
This is not because I can tell one person one thing and I can tell another person the same thing. One reacts completely different than the other. So with that guy, I said, hey, you could be part of a church community and you could have community and fellowship. And somebody would be like, oh, that's what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
And somebody else goes,
He's like, I'm
that
out.
scares me to death.
Yeah,
I hate that.
yeah.
I hate even the mention of it. And so that's why. So why is Paul praying that the mystery of the gospel comes out of his mouth more clearly? Paul knew the gospel better than anybody. Why is he still asking for prayers that, because he knew, he's like, why are they not getting it?
Yes.
Why do these people get it?
Yes.
These people don't.
Yes.
And so it's like this mystery, and he wants to, then the idea of become all things to all men,
Yes.
so that you can snatch some from the fire. It's like, that's the idea, is like, so as I'm having conversations, some things that work for others, like if I talk about physical death, some people, it worked, like Big Bill in the story, that worked. It's what finally came through to him when he actually thought about that. But I've told that to other people, and they're like, especially younger people, don't even think like that. Don't even have that. And you're like, okay, that didn't. And like Bill was a great example because I kept having to go back and I just kept, and I think the Holy Spirit's working as well. It's like, what could how could we get into this conversation? But that night with Charles, I just asked him.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I've thought about this a lot. And so he's been thinking about it. And then, because once he kind of got absorbed into a church, he had questions, but it's like, well, now I don't know if I can ask this or,
Right.
and everybody just assumed. The guy he was with was like, I had no idea.
Yeah. Right.
And then it really opened up for him kind of where he was and how it started. Because I think I think how it starts is important, you know. At least it seems that way in the New Testament. Yeah, I kind of lay that out like.
Oh man, this is the book to put in your hands and put in the hands of all of us. It is such a good here are the steps of how you tell the story of your story and Jesus' story to people.
And I don't want to be my opinion.
It isn't. I don't think it is.
It's just
You just lay out the gospel.
It's the gospel.
You have a chart, Willie.
But here's why that's important, because one of the number one things people say is, I don't know where to start. Like, I don't know where to start. Okay, let's talk about how we can start. But when I'm talking to someone, I want them to read this in the Bible, because it may be the first time they've ever read something from the Bible and applied it to their life.
Yeah.
They may have heard a preacher talk, but they've never actually applied these things to their life. And so I want them to then start that, because they may not ever see me again for the rest of their life.
Yes.
And I need them connected to the Word.
Yeah.
And then all the answers are in there.
Yeah.
And so I need them connected there. And then that's what's going to help make them a disciple.
Yes.
Is that.
And that's what you talk about, sowers and harvesters.
Yeah, it's not me conning somebody, into arguing somebody and winning the argument, going, bam, now, when I was younger, I used to do that, and it was just like, no more. Like, if you want this, it's great. Plus, I'm not going to cheapen Jesus Christ down to that anyway. Like, hey, Jesus said, hey, here's what Luke 14, like, I'll give you what this is going to look like and where it needs to be. And it's not all, and then your life's going to be awesome. It may not be.
Yeah, that's right.
It may be in Nashville, but it may not be in Yemen. May not be in Egypt. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Yeah, North Korea, it may not be great,
that's right.
And so I think I don't tell people and then everything's going to work out,
That's right.
No, you'll know. You'll have a more peace, and you'll have a mission in life, and you'll know where you're at in eternity. I don't know what's going to happen in this
between
life.
here and there.
I have no idea.
Right.
You're talking about failures in business, like, hey, we're not guaranteed any of this stuff, and we have a place, somebody just was doing another one this week, and someone said, well, man, what about the fear of rejection? We were talking to somebody. I'm like, well, the fear they had in the New Testament was death, or
right.
jail. If you keep saying, remember, in the book of Acts, if you keep doing this, we're going to throw you in jail. We're going to kill you. We're going to flog you. And yet they kept doing it. So I think in America, if you're worried about, well, they may say ugly things to me,
you'll be all right.
You'll be okay.
You'll be all right. Yeah.
You'll be okay.
That sounds fun.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation one more time to tell you about one of our incredible partners, KiwiCo. Y'all, KiwiCo is doing their summer adventure series, and it is just adorable. You do not want to miss this one. I know it can be hard to find creative ways to keep kids busy and challenged when you're on summer break, but KiwiCo has you covered this summer. There's really something for kids of all ages. There are different options based on age and different themes to choose from for each age group. For example, my nephew Sammy is 4, so there are 3 different things I can choose from for his age: the great outdoors, which he will love, the natural world, which he also loves, and the science explorer. That guy loves talking about being an explorer, y'all. They are all so cute. The Summer Adventure Series includes 6 crates, and they're shipped right to you. You can either receive all of your Summer Adventure crates at once or weekly for 6 weeks. Plus, it comes with everything you need. Whether you've got littles or teenagers, KiwiCo's got something for everyone, and these hands-on science and art projects are both fun and educational. Each kit comes with enriching content and activities to make the learning experience even more fun. KiwiCo encourages kids to get outside, explore, and stay off their screens. They get to build things like the Nature Walk lantern, where they build this cute wooden lantern as they are learning about the changing seasons. Adorable. I mean, I wish we had these crates when I was growing up. Build the best summer ever with KiwiCo. Get 20% off your summer adventure series at kiwico.com/funsummer. That's 20% off your summer adventure at kiwico.com/funsummer. And now back to finish up our conversation with Willie.
That sounds fun.
Coach me a little bit. I have a couple of groups of friends that are, so I'm 43, they're in their 20s. I don't know where their faiths are. We're just kind of getting to know each other, but they have kids. So would you start with, if you were sitting down at dinner with them, and because I've thought, do I ask them about if they want to dedicate their kids? Is that a doorway in to start a conversation about, where are y'all in your faith right now? And how do you see yourself parenting with what you believe? Where would you start with a young family?
I think it could be anything.
Okay.
Like it's impossible.
Uh-huh.
It's like, how would you write a song or come up with a melody? There's so many different ways and there's so many different things. So I think we listen, the main thing I do is listen. Sometimes it'll be obvious.
Okay.
Like the guy telling me, like, I don't
Yeah.
think I'm living like I should. Sometimes it's obvious.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, here's the layup.
Right.
Sometimes I hear something about fear. And so that gives me, I'm scared to death of COVID.
So it's a choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Well, then it's like,
You listen
okay,
and then,
why are you so scared? What's fearful about that? I think it's really hard when they don't give off any of that, when it's kind of hard to read. So, and then sometimes I think it's just a simple asking. But I think the kids would be a great one. What do you?
That's kind of what there's been conversations about, they've been coming to me with questions and thoughts on what does it look like to raise a Christian kid? Mm-hmm. And so it's been really interesting because I've been like, well, it kind of looks like them following what you believe. What do you believe?
I would probably definitely, I always just go to that person.
Got it.
And I go to that person and say, what's it like for you? Because sometimes we do try, people would try to, this may not be for me, which, hey, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll go at somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh, you know how many times I preach to somebody? I'm preaching to this guy, but I'm talking to this guy.
Yeah, right.
So it's a sneak attack. Like I do that. I do it with my dad. Like I was with a driver in Los Angeles, and we started talking, and I start telling him Dad's story. But I'm preaching to him, but it doesn't sound like I'm preaching to him. I'm just telling him.
Just telling a story.
I was like, oh, and my dad did this, then he did this, and then this happened, But the whole time, because it's so funny. Have you ever noticed this is something I love noticing because it happens all the time. When you tell someone a story, how often do they apply it to themselves? Almost always.
That's right.
That's
why Taylor Swift songs do like they do. It's her stories.
When
but
you
it's
start
like
telling
us.
somebody, and then listen to the response when people go, well, if it were up to me, you can't help but you think, well, how does that affect me?
Yeah.
And so it's the same way I feel like with this. If I'm, because I'll tell, I have atheist friends that I call, and sometimes I'll talk to them like they understand they're in the club.
Yes.
Like I don't say, I'll just be like, oh, I'm writing this book on sharing your faith, and they're just like, you're telling me this.
Yeah.
But I just act like, oh, because if you've got any questions, you'll ask me.
Yeah.
I have atheist friends that I ask them questions about how to convert another friend who's an atheist. And I go, because you're an atheist, so you can, maybe you'll help me get this guy. And it's so funny. They're like, well, you're putting me in this slot. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're wearing it proud. That's fine. Maybe we can help this one then.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
just
so good.
So you never know which way and what that is. But I do think sometimes you just ask the question. Because sometimes it'll sit there for a long time with people. Like I've had people come back to me a year later going, you remember that thing you said to me? And I'm like, actually, I don't. They were like, you said this. And it's like, planting them seeds, just throwing them.
That's right.
Throwing them,
Chunking them. It's been one of the fun things about New York is as I make friends in New York, they don't feel the pressure to be Christian like people feel in Nashville. In Nashville, if you're a Christian, that advances your career and your social life here because that's what people want you to be. That's not true in New York. Right. So that's really fun because it leads to conversations where I talk to them like they're in the club. I'm like, oh, how did I make that decision? Well, I should ask the Lord.
Right.
And they're like, okay. And you're right. It leaves them space to ask questions.
And the book is for this too. And you probably, because you're in this world as well. I think we think we're only doing something big if it's a big thing and it's a big giant.
That. Right.
Read through the book of Acts. Yeah. It's small conversations.
Yeah.
This was, I love about Acts chapter 2. I love about the rest of the book. So Acts chapter 2, if you're not aware, that 3,000 people were converted. Peter preaches, and it's a giant gathering. You know how many times did they ever go back in Acts and say, let's recreate what happened on the day?
No, they don't, do
now,
they?
In America, do you think if that happened, have you ever been to a conference?
Hey, listen.
Let's do that. Let's do that again.
Yeah.
Peter, get up and do that same thing
That's
you did. So isn't that amazing that you never see them trying to plan that out and say, we've got to get back to that. When
they don't ever repeat in there, do they?
I see groups of Christians, that's all they do. And we feel like, well, it has to happen, these big things. And then again, that disqualifies the church.
Yeah.
So I was speaking recently at a church and I said, I have a new product coming out, some other new products for hunting stuff. And I said, if I was in this town and I wanted to get the word out about my new product, and there was probably 1,500 people,
Yeah.
and I appointed the preacher, I said, would I have him talk about it, or would I take the 1,500 of you to talk about it?
Wow.
All day long, you'll take the 1,500.
Yeah.
So once the sermons start coming from the pew, and now, I'm not saying now
Yes,
you have the
yes.
Bible, but I'm saying this can help you.
resource,
Even
yeah.
if you're at a place you're like, well, I live in so-and-so,
Yeah.
South Carolina. It's so dead here, and there's no good churches, and there's no. You can start that and start converting people around you at work, and it's not always stranger too. I think sometimes it's like this whole thing's about just talking to strangers. like that happened, like the Ethiopian, and that was a stranger. But this can be with people that you know. Start with
That's how I live. I'm like, if they're
your
in my
kids,
bucket,
your spouse,
they're in
your
my bucket.
aunts, your
Yeah.
uncles, the people you work beside. You can just start with the people you know, and that'll fill up a lot of your time just trying
Listen,
to.
I just pay attention to who likes me. I'm like, if they don't believe what I believe and they like me, that's the Lord.
Right,
That
yeah.
isn't me.
Right.
The Lord's trying to do something. So that's
There
when
you go.
my antenna go up. I'm like,
Right.
this person and I do not agree on anything. Why do they like me?
Yeah.
I need to pay attention.
Right.
They
Right.
shouldn't,
Right.
Okay, last big question before what sounds fun to you. Every Christmas, you mail me these nuts that are sweet and spicy, and they are so freaking good, Willie Robertson. What are those? Am I not supposed to tell that publicly? Is that like a big secret? Because
No.
I'm telling you, when that little box arrives,
I know. I'm glad
just
you
telling.
said that because I make all those by hand.
I believe it.
I
did
make
not
every
know.
one of them by hand, and it's become quite the thing. I know. I think I'm gonna have to sell them because.
Please, I would buy a subscription.
Well, I have Henry Cloud. You know Henry Cloud. So Henry Cloud's dog ate his.
Oh, that can't
And
be
he
good.
sends
That's so
me
much
the
sugar.
picture, and he's got this giant dog, and he ate the can. It's just and he goes, "Where can I buy these?" I said, "Henry, you don't buy. I made those. I made the can, I made the nuts. So they're butterscotch pecans. It's an old recipe that came from my mom's side of the family. My mom's sister's husband, he's passed away. Uncle Wade. Uncle Wade made those. And I was like, I loved them. It was like
They're
so I started
good.
making them and sending them to my friends, and they're good, aren't they?
My self-control is do not crush this and standing at your stove. I mean, I can tell you, I open the box of my stove and I'm like, do not crush these right now.
And I don't
Have
really
a few.
particularly like butterscotch, but the way,
Oh, yeah.
But
So
it's
if
a
you'll
little
sell
system.
those, I'll buy
It's
some.
a little system of how. I got to figure out how to make them on a bigger scale. But yeah, it turned into a fun thing because remember they used to be in the little jars.
Yeah,
And now we've gotten because we put more in there. Because a lot of my friends were like, okay, I like the little
The jars were not.
but it's like
That's
we're
it.
all fighting over them. So we did the little cans this year, and so it was hysterical with making the little squirrels.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was great. It was the best. Okay. Is there anything we didn't talk about you want to make sure we cover?
Oh no, we just brushed the surface. I think it was.
I cannot wait for people to get this book. I think it is.
It's so fun now that people have read it.
Yeah.
Because I've been, you know how you do with these
my
books,
gosh,
and then
you
nobody's
by
read it,
yourself.
and you're
Yeah,
like,
that's
yeah.
right.
And then it's like now people have actually read it, and so hearing the comments, and my hope is that
really good.
it just really inspires people, to. Because it's not just us trying to do these giant. It's just if we get a lot of people out sharing their faith, and when it comes from them, and because it doesn't necessarily. I think one of the worst places to have a conversation is at a church building. Like it's not set up for it.
Yeah.
Like
No.
you drive up there, you walk in, you chit chat on the way in, and then you sit, you listen. For most people, you sit and you listen, and then you get in your car and you leave.
Yeah, that's
so you don't have a lot of conversations there.
Right.
And so I think it's not that people can't be converted in that place, but like churches have it all packaged in. It's like, wow, we're doing this, and then one last minute we're going to do one little thing. And it's not like I feel like people walk out going, I may have done something. I don't know what exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's so much better when there's a conversation.
Yeah.
Like again back to marriage. It was like I didn't get married that way. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't put two fingers up and go like, yeah, I'm in. You
Right,
know,
right.
Let's start. No, there was a whole thing. It was like counting the cost. Here's what it's going to be, and
Yeah.
to be in this relationship, and then you've got your whole Christian life to learn. But I think one of the things we do too, Annie, is we don't. Nobody, and I talk about this in the book. Nobody ever said that was part of the deal, going after other people. Right. And I lay that argument out pretty clear.
Yeah,
I think Jesus was saying. It may not be part of the deal. It may be the whole deal.
Yeah.
Like, once you got it, great.
Yeah.
Now, when Jesus called Peter, that's the only thing he said.
Yes.
Hey, come follow me.
follow
I'm
me.
going to teach you how to fish for people.
Yep.
And Peter's like, well, let's go.
Yeah.
And the Zacchaeus was a real clue because remember, he went to his house And he says, this is why the Son of Man came, seek and save what was lost. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden we're not thinking about ourselves, because I sit through a lot of services and it's like, you need this, and it's so inside. It needs to be out, And so I very rarely hear people go, all right, let's go. Now we're going to go get after other people.
Yeah.
Which most people that are converted by who? People that just came to faith.
Yeah, that's right.
Most of the conversions are within the first year. Isn't that strange? The longer we stay in this thing, the less we are of telling other people and getting other people. So something's off
Something's
there.
off.
Something's off.
Yeah.
If that's what we're doing, then something's off, because it certainly shouldn't be that way. It's not like that in other things in life,
Yeah.
So somehow how we're doing it's a little off. So maybe this will help.
You're helping me.
Kind of help correct,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our generation, so to teach and
I'm going to keep one here in Nashville. I'm going to buy one for my apartment in New York. And that way, anyone passing through either place gets a chance to go, what would it look like for me to do this today in the city I'm in?
Yeah.
So I'm grateful. I have not done that with any other book in my life except Bob Sorge's Secrets of a Secret Place. That is the only other book I have in both places besides this. So,
well, it came out of a heart of wanting to do that, and just the way God put it all together, and because it was during COVID and I couldn't travel, and so and I opened my mouth and they asked me to teach this class on it at this church, and so I started teaching. That's when I started, and I was telling another friend about it, and he said, you should put that in a book.
Yeah.
He said, you ever put that in a book? He said, I've never quite seen it like that, and as simple as you put it.
Yep.
Because I'm kind of a simple guy. So.
It's very helpful. Okay, so the last question we always ask, because the show is called That Sounds Fun, tell me what sounds fun to you. Especially around Father's Day. That's when everybody's hearing this.
Oh, Father's Day
fun?
is fun. Oh, there's so, you're probably not going to, well, no, you will believe this because you've been there. You know what's really fun to me? Like Corey will say, like when she's not there, like I'm at the house, I'm by myself. What do I do? What would I do for fun? I go get a cookbook. I find a recipe, and I'm like, I'm cooking this. And I go to the grocery store, which is one of the funnest parts,
Yeah.
is I want to and I get all the ingredients, and I will make a complete meal. I call them my practice meals.
Yeah.
And I see if it's good and if I can do it. And so I love cooking. I talk about in the book, like it's so similar to me cooking. The creating something, because it's all about somebody else. I don't cook just for myself, even though I just said I cook for but it's a practice meal, so that I can say, and then I'll try it on the family, and then Sadie will text and say, Dad, put that in the mix. And put that mix means it goes in the rotation of meals. And so,
interesting.
So we find meals that go into but I love to do that. And so, and it's so much like sharing your faith, because the more you do it, and this is what I tell people, the more you do it, the more experience you get at it, the more you're talking to people. People are people. The problems are the same. Sin is sin. The message is the same. The methods may be different, but the message is the same. But, man, you'll get so comfortable. Like, I could have taught you this whole time while I was cooking a meal.
Yeah, right.
Like, you've been in my kitchen. You said, so, like, I can cook and talk. In fact, Louis Giglio, one time, he had that they were at our house, and we were talking. I was cooking, and he said, I want you to do that at Passion City Church.
Oh, wow.
So he brought in a whole kitchen, and I'm on stage, and I'm cooking a meal, and he and Shelly and Corey were on the couches, and the whole time I'm cooking.
Wow.
Now, not the same with Corey.
Yeah.
Corey can't talk and cook. She's staring at the back of a box. There's smoke bellowing out. She's looking. She's fighting. She fights the stove. Like she's fighting this fire because she always has it too high.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'll just go over and I'll just turn it down. I'll be like, you don't have to go. like you can. So it's. But that's the only reason I do that is because that's how comfortable I've done it so many times. It's always going to be different, because food is different. You're like, and I can tell, like, I think this is, and it's so much like having a conversation with people. Some people are like, just the damage is heavy.
Yeah.
What they came out of it, say where they're at's heavy. They're confused. They don't know, and we just have that conversation. And then we really start taking on these qualities of Jesus as the great physician, because you may feel like a doctor, like, well, here's the problem.
Yeah.
I know a lot of biblical information, but at this time, here's a problem. Here's a solution. You want in? You want out? And so Jesus as the great counselor, because a lot of this is like counseling. You're trying to walk people through life. And so you start taking all these attributes of Jesus, and then you start playing them out and living them out. So that sounds fun to me, would be just learning how to cook another good meal.
A test meal.
So that I could, because ultimately the super fun part is when you can lay it out for
when it gets
for the
in the
kids and everybody, and then you all enjoy it. And so,
Yeah.
because that's, we growing up, we sat at that dinner table, and I'm so glad that was memorialized with Duck Dynasty at the end of that dinner table, because it was so much about that, just telling the story, hearing stories about the gospel and preaching the gospel, and hunting and fishing and just all that stuff. So that sounds fun to me.
Great answer. Thank you for doing this, Willie.
This was
I
awesome.
appreciate it. I love you and your family. I'm really grateful for y'all. So thanks for
Thank
making
you for
time for
having me
this. Oh, friends, isn't he the best? I love Willie Robertson. Okay, so we have got 2 copies of Gospeler, his brand new book, autographed by Willie. If you would like this to give to someone as a Father's Day gift, here's all you got to do. Go to That Sounds Fun podcast Instagram, and we have got 2 copies to give away. So you can get one, and you can tag a friend who will get one. So go and tag maybe a dad that you think would love to read the book, or another friend that would love to give the book to someone in their family or to a friend of theirs. Or listen, it's a great book. We're all going to want to read it. So you can win a copy, read it, and then give it for Father's Day, and tag a friend as well. So we've got 2 copies to give away, one to you and one to your friend that you tag. And make sure you grab a couple of copies of Gospeler. It is a really great book to have on hand to help people understand how to share the gospel, to understand what it means to share the gospel, and just some really easy handholds of how we talk about our faith. I learned a lot. Make sure you're following Willie on social media as well. Tell him thanks so much for being on the show. If you like this episode, I think you're also going to love episode 362 with Willie's daughter, Sadie Robertson Huff, or episode 477 with Granger Smith. If you have any questions from this episode, you can just drop them in the Spotify Q&A box over on Spotify. If that's where you listen, that's where I listen. Or you can send them to us on Instagram at That Sounds Fun Podcast. We'll answer them there. If you need anything else from me, well, I am on my summer Sabbath. I am on a break, but you can keep up with the show on Instagram at That Sounds Fun Podcast. That's where all the new information is right now. Let us know what you think about this episode over there. And don't forget to go enter to win those 2 autographed copies of Willie's new book. Y'all go out or stay home. Do something that sounds fun to you, and I'll do the same. Today, what sounds fun to me is going to see Wicked. I've got some friends in town, and we get to go see Mary-Kate Morrissey as Elphaba. Oh, it's one of my very favorite things to do. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you back here on Monday as we continue these really important, some of my very favorite episodes of the year are happening this month. And on Monday, we're talking about Juneteenth. We're talking about racial reconciliation with the guys from Undivided, Chuck Mingo and Troy Anderson. We'll see you on Monday.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Check 1, 2 on the microphone. NEF down in your car to your home. Every week it's something new. A deep talk or an interview. She'll make you laugh, she'll make you cry. When it's dark out, she's a light. When you're down, get you feeling right. Oh man, that sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.